welcome Rene Silva, The Life and Times of Annie Brighton. The Life and Times of Annie Brighton, Rene Silva.
Can you remember your first memories of reading? Close your eyes for a moment, if you will, and think back to your first childhood memories of reading. Picture the places that can take you on a journey back through time and through memory lanes. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, my first memories of reading occurred to me, of serious reading, occurred to me around the age of 9. Back until then, it was probably just all the comics in the comic strips in the newspapers, until I was presented with my very first famous 5 novel at 9 years of age. Now, after initial trials and tribulations, trying to get started on this, once I did get started, I discovered that to my absolute joy and pleasure, that I could not put it down until it was finished from cover to cover. And thus began my affection and fondness for the works of Enid Blyton. Now, I began to plow through a catalogue, a library catalogue of Enid Blyton titles, from the famous Fine and Secret 7 to Noddy, the Wishing Chair, and numerous others. As I was on this journey of a treasure trove of tales, which kept me occupied many times during a non-school day in my formative adolescent years. Rarely on these joyful journeys that I indulge myself in, did I ever stop to think much about the person responsible for these books and titles. In fact, it was probably after 2 years after my first Enid Blyton novel that I in fact discovered for the first time that Enid Blyton was in fact a woman and not a man. And it was only in the last 2 months that I have delved into doing a bit more research, and I have discovered that Enid Mary Blyton was born in East Dulwich, London in 1897. She was the oldest of 3 children. She was sporty, academic, and musical. Initially, she trained to be a music teacher, and for the first 5 years she taught piano whilst writing in her spare time. Her first novel published was a book of poems known as Children's Whispers, which was published in 1922, when she was 25 years of age. Now, if you're familiar with an Enid Blyton book, the language is it's meant for young readers and early readers. The dialogue, vocabulary, and sentence structure is simple and facile, almost a walkover in the literary sense. A common theme running through her books and her novels is the concept of children being in extraordinary and incredible situations and having to use their wits against the odds to come out on top at the conclusion. Another common theme that she would use is fantasy and magic, especially in the short story sections that she would write. A third theme common to it was religion, and this is no surprise because Enid Blyton was in fact a religious person. Now, it's not possible really in today's world to have a conversation about Enid Blyton without some sort of a reference to the apparent and alleged racism, snobbery, and sexism within the books. But what we really must consider over here is that they were but a reflection of the times that they were written in, and it is a bit hard to judge these sorts of works by the modern standards of today's world. Of greater concern to Blyton at the time was the attitude from other literary and media figures of the time, whose assertions and accusations were that her works were monotonous and of not much value to children at all. However, she met these criticisms as steady as a rock and refused to bow to them, declaring that the only critics' words that she were interested in were the ones that were under 12 years of age. And in fact fought and won a battle with the BBC radio as well, to have the BBC broadcast her stories over the airwaves at the time. Whilst she continued to be a success, in fact a huge success in her literary life, her personal life was quite different. It was quite turbulent and tumultuous and full of numerous family feuds. Nevertheless, she continued to be a prolific author right up till her death in 1968 at the age of 71. So, her legacy, as we know to this day, is steadfast through the iconic characters that she created over her lifetime, as well as 600 million plus publications of her works in numerous countries and in numerous languages. So the next time that you read to your children, or your grandchildren, or to your nephews and nieces, why not consider an Enid Blyton title? There are 762 to choose from. I thank you.